after billions of crabs disappeared over the last couple of years. Everyone from scientists to crabbers all agree on one thing.
Crabs prefer cold water, usually between 0 to 1 degree Celsius. But 2018 and 2019 brought record warm waters to the Bering Sea.
Or our survey gear didn't sample them, whether or not that's because they moved, either west or north. Those were questions that we certainly asked.
A $1.2 billion industry collapsed almost overnight, and it wasn't oil or tech. It was king crab. One embargo flipped the tables of New York's fanciest hotels and left fishermen in the Bering Sea staring at empty cages. How could a crustacean that symbolized power and luxury vanish so fast? Stay with me as we dive 984 feet down, where the answer lies buried under ice, politics, and the fight for survival. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great, thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. Out where wind cuts like glass and the sea hits freezing, the king crab isn't just a catch, it's a battle for survival.
What's happened in the last couple of years has been completely unprecedented and a complete shock and surprise to the industry.
Yes. They don't think the warm water directly killed the crabs, but it was likely a domino effect.
Snow crabbing season in Alaska's Bering Sea is canceled for the second year in a row.
You stand on deck with a line of steel pots, each one baited and ready to drop nearly 1,000 feet down into black water. Down there, the cold is bone deep, and only a few species can live in that pressure. The crab that makes it out carries the flavor of endurance, and that's part of what gives it such high value. King crab earns its price through size and scarcity. A single crab can spread its legs wider than your arm span, and its shell is hard enough to dull a knife. It grows slow, deep in the cold, eating whatever survives near the seafloor. Because access to its grounds is limited and seasons are short, every pound that reaches a market feels almost hand-delivered from the edge of safety.
After billions of crabs disappeared over the last couple of years, everyone from scientists to crabbers all agree on one thing.
Crabs prefer cold water, usually between 0 to 1 degree Celsius. But 2018 and 2019 brought record warm waters to the Bering Sea.
Or our survey gear didn't sample them, whether or not that's because they moved, either west or north. Those were questions that we certainly asked.
Each drop of a pot is a gamble. A smooth haul can mean a fortune, but all it takes is one mistake, the wrong footing, a slack line snapping tight, and someone can vanish over the side. The Bering Sea doesn't forgive. Ice builds on the rails, ropes freeze stiff, and the deck pitches hard with rogue waves. Crews run long shifts without sleep, working side by side in bursts of noise and spray. Sorting comes next. Every crab must measure right, too small, back it goes. That means hours outside in sub-zero air, bare fingers moving fast before frost sets in.
Joyce, crabs in the Bering Sea went from thriving to essentially non-existent in just a few years.
Alaskan scientists believe a key part of this puzzle is the water temperature of Alaska's Bering Sea. A State of Alaska researcher.
The fishery looked extremely healthy. Out of nowhere, the stock collapsed.
Steam rises off the catch, the gear clanks, and the smell of bait clings to everything. When a full pot comes up and the count is good, that moment feels earned. The reward matches the risk, a living built on grit, precision, and respect for the sea. And yet, the greater threat wasn't under the waves at all, it waited on land, in the form of politics that would soon stop the trade cold. When sanctions hit in 2022, the sea didn't calm, it just changed sides. Russia had supplied most of the world's king crab, sending millions of pounds through ports like Murmansk and Vladivostok. Those shipments moved steadily into the U.S., filling fine dining kitchens and seafood counters from coast to coast. The market depended on that flow, and when it stopped, the shock was instant.
A Bering Sea crabber.
It was evidently a population collapse.
We believe the population decline for Bering Sea snow crab is largely due to natural mortality events due to fluctuating environmental conditions.
Multiple answers trying to figure out where these crabs may have gone.
It's either a mortality event, right? The crab are not there, they all died.
One embargo halted every container from Russian waters. Crates worth billions sat idle as paperwork froze to a standstill. Freezers stood full, restaurant menus went blank, and wholesalers lost their main supply overnight. You could feel the gap on the coasts. Calls for king crab were met with silence, and even at soaring prices, there was nothing left to sell. Deals that once linked boats, planes, and dinner plates broke apart in a week. Alaska's crabbers couldn't fill the void. Population crashes in the Bering Sea had already closed key seasons, leaving harbors quiet and crews grounded.
A National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration biologist, all echoing the same message. This mass disappearance came out of nowhere.
It's not really assumed that 10 billion of those small snow crab that don't typically undertake long migrations like that just up and left in 2021.
Scientists do not believe the crabs migrated somewhere else because surrounding waters have not seen an increase in crabs.
With limits tight and stocks low, the American catch simply couldn't replace what once came across the Pacific. That opened space for a new trade pattern to form. Asia moved fast. China and South Korea began taking in Russia's redirected exports, buying king crab at lower prices and locking in long-term access. In just months, the trade map bent eastward. Power shifted with it. The U.S., once the top buyer, now watched supply lines reroute right past its shores. Experts called it a sign of how fragile these systems are. One broken link, seafood or fuel or fertilizer, can ripple across whole economies. It's like a fishing net under strain. Tear one corner, and the load shifts until the whole thing gives way. The fall of the king crab industry wasn't driven by the ocean. It came from desks and sanctions far from the waves, showing just how thin the threads of ocean economies can be. Every crab on a plate connects people who never meet, soldiers guarding borders, captains risking storms, and policy makers drawing lines that reach the sea. Out on the water, trade isn't a number, it's tied to hands, fuel, and trust. When those ties snap, you see how global our meals truly are. Watch for the unseen cost of every luxury from the sea, because value runs deeper than market price. If you care about what's beneath the waves, subscribe to keep learning how it all fits together. After all, 984 feet down is where global stories begin, not end.